So, we were going to go back to her, but you need a history lesson. So, this is going to be a really fast one. You can listen more than one time, but in order for you to understand what is happening, I understand what's happening. You're going to get it. We need to bring it all the way back. Where are we bringing it back to? So we can understand Hamilton, Lincoln, McKinley. Gonna do a brief on that, okay? That's gonna get you up to when McKinley was assassinated, I believe, like early 1900s. He was elected in 1901 by, I believe. I don't remember when he was assassinated. And then who was his vice president that came in, Miranda? You don't know.
I don't.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh.
That's how Teddy got in. When he ran for re-election, he ended up going with the Bull Moose, and that's how we ended up with who? Look at my face. Who did we end up with?
I don't know.
Woodrow Wilson. Exactly. So, before Woodrow Wilson, Alexander Hamilton, late 1700s, was the first Secretary of Treasury. Hamilton designed the foundational U.S. financial system. He is the guy. So when somebody talks about Hamiltonian economics, he's the guy that first created that for America. You didn't know that. They don't teach you that. They don't want you to know that.
I wonder if Reed knows that.
I'm going to tell you that. And with the goal of creating, what was his goal when he created the foundational U.S. financial system? A strong, industrialized nation. Economy capable of doing what? Competing with European powers. So, because he knew what went on in Europe, he knew what it was going to take to compete with it, okay? So what was it going to take? Assumption of debt. The federal government assumed some of the state's debts, blah, 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 from Revolutionary War. We can do that. National Bank. He established the first Bank of the United States to provide a stable national currency. Protective tariffs and subsidies. He advocated for tariffs to protect infant industries from foreign competition. What does that sound like? We do not have any protective tariffs right now for infant industry in America. And guess what? Trump's putting those in place, isn't he? So that South Korea can't take everything that we have. China can't take everything we have. That these little baby industries in America can't survive when they have the foreign competitors that can just snap it right up. And then generate revenue for the government and encourage domestic manufacturing. That's everything that Trump is doing, encouraging domestic manufacturing, internal improvements. Now we're going to go to Lincoln. Lincoln's economic policies, often referred to as Lincolnomics, were a direct continuation and expansion of Hamiltonian principles. So what Hamilton put in place in the late 1700s, Lincoln picked that up and said, this is what we need to expand upon as a nation. So all the presidents in between that we had, from the second president till the 16th president, he said, hey, they had it right back here. We're going to do this.
Yep.
And he needed to do that for Reconstruction as well. So, particularly during the Civil War era, his policies were designed to foster a free labor economy and promote opportunity for all individuals. What were his keys? High tariffs. High tariffs. The Lincoln administration dramatically increased tariffs on imports to generate what? Revenue for the war effort and further protect American industry. Tariffs protect American industry.
See, this is why I get so bent out of shape when people who quite literally directly benefit from these tariffs whine and complain about Trump's tariffs.
Exactly.
Hey, we need tariffs. It's hurting us. It's literally helping you survive.
But here's the problem. They're not going to see until industry can catch up, that deregulation that's happening currently right now, the courts, the fights in the courts to deregulate all the garbage to make it so that manufacturing could die in America, they're having to pull those regulations back. And it's going to be probably mid to late 2026 that we're going to see that boom. Yep. So right now
it's coming. It's just we have to do the prep work to get there.
And that's why it's important that you listen to all of this and you understand this history lesson. Don't check out on me. Don't check out on me. Understand this. So the National Banking Acts of 1863 and 64 created a uniform national currency. So that, and it was similar to the spirit of the Hamilton's National Bank. So we had that currency that was going to be North and South. All of our money is together now. One currency. That's when that happened.
I didn't know about North and South money.
Yes. There was Confederate money and there was the Union money. So then now we had one money.
Were they equal money-wise or not?
Oh, okay. No. Infrastructure and education. He used government credit to fund multi-state infrastructure projects like the Transcontinental Railroad. Remember, what is that? Wild Wild West with, remember?
Yeah, it's, well, it's got Will Smith in it.
Yeah, Will Smith. So that's during the Transcontinental Railroad. Remember,
great movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Toward the end is when you see that Lincoln comes out when they connect the East and West together with that Transcontinental Railroad.
And he hammers the last railroad nail in.
And that is true. That happened under him. But it was that infrastructure push.
How cool, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have things like that now because it's all been done, but it's cool to have been back then.
And how did we afford that infrastructure, Mer?
Tariffs.
High tariffs under Lincoln gave us the Transcontinental Railroad and built this huge infrastructure that we needed for the oncoming industrial revolution that was about to happen. It couldn't have happened without infrastructure, and the infrastructure wouldn't have been built without the high tariffs. Get this through your head. This is how we prospered in our history, was tariffs. So when they try to make you think that Trump is speaking alien when he talks about tariffs, no.
Not true.
It's a Hamiltonian model. It's a Lincoln and McKinley model. And you're going to find out Coolidge as well. They left out Coolidge, but I bought that big thick book on Coolidge when somebody talked to me about Coolidge and the prosperity there, and it's like, I don't know about this, so I had to buy the Coolidge book, and then I learned about that too. That was in the 1920s. So, Transcontinental, Western expansion, Homestead Act, developing agriculture in the West. That was all done under Lincoln. McKinley came. 1890s to 1901. McKinley was a strong proponent of protectionism. And what do you hear them talk about Trump? He's an isolationist. He's a protectionist. So was McKinley. And they murdered him for it. Earning the nickname Napoleon of Protection. Whatever. They were trying to smear back then too. Don't think that propaganda hasn't been around for a century. His policies aimed to ensure what? American industrial dominance and economic stability after the Depression of 1890s. Did you know there was a depression in the 1890s? Yeah, I hadn't until I had learned about this about a year ago, so I had to do a deep dive into that. That'll make your head spin on how that all happened, but it got straightened out under McKinley with the same principles that he's putting in place that Trump is using today.
So is anybody else seeing a theme here?
That's why we had to do this. I was hoping you were going to see a theme. I was hoping, because if history is not taught to you, you can't see these themes. So instead of just letting her talk, I knew God said, you know what, Vicky? Bring them all the way back and tell them what you know so that they can see what's happening.
So, but that begs the question, if there is a theme, why is there a theme? Why do they care? Why don't they want to protect America, have American industry,
Well-
and make us thrive. If you live here in America, why would you not want your own country to thrive?
Because what's that bottom thing that she says down there, Mer? Read it out loud.
Globalists want you demoralized.
Globalists. It is the elites that want to suck all the money out of America, and then it is laundered through Ukraine, Brussels, every other country, and back into their coffers.
But how do we not do that then?
Trump, when I say Trump is reshaping everything, he's stopping all of that. She's going to get into some of that.
Okay.
Because he's doing all of it. One of the ways, he just bypassed them and went straight to 5 Asian countries and said, we're not going to mess with Europe anymore, and it's going to be just you and me, bro. What do you think? Hey, sounds great.
They're like, sign me up, brother.
Mm-hmm. And so how much of that money is Europe going to get?
Zero.
That's how. Extreme protectionist tariffs. As a congressman, he framed the McKinley Tariff Act of 1890, which raised average duties to almost 50%. And then the gold standard. This is important. McKinley advocated for the gold standard, which he believed would stabilize the economy and foster prosperity. He was right. And that gold standard he put in place in the late 1890s. Pro-business stance, reciprocity. So he gets shot. Teddy Roosevelt comes in. He does his Teddy Roosevelt stuff. And then Woodrow Wilson comes in. He begins to put in place. First of all, he rewrites history. We'll do a whole show on that. After he rewrites history, he begins to put in place progressivism. He was the first progressive president that we had. First socialist. First communist, if you want to know the truth.
McKinley?
No. Woodrow Wilson.
Oh, Wilson, yeah.
McKinley's dead. Teddy's done. Now we're on to him.
Behind, okay.
Yep, now we're on to him. He put in many levers, and we're going to do a whole Woodrow Wilson so you understand. The Federal Reserve. He did the Federal Reserve. First time we ever had to have income taxes was under him. So he says, no, we're going to have a Federal Reserve, so we're going to have them in charge of our money instead of tariffs. And they're going to be in charge of our interest rates. And, we'll make up for the tariffs that we're not going to have by charging the Americans money.
And was
tax.
it Woodrow Wilson or Lyndon B. Johnson that removed the Black Patriots from Revolutionary War?
That was Woodrow Wilson.
I thought so.
That was Woodrow Wilson.
He quite literally rewrote our history books
into 5 volumes
and took out all of the Black Patriots. Look it up. And then, I'm not joking. And it literally happened.
Not only did he take them out, but then he actually changed the images, the sketched images of the former Black Americans to make them look more like gorillas.
It's true.
He really did that.
It's wild to me.
To try to make Americans look
to
at Black
incite
people.
racism.
Exactly. So racism began because slavery was an economic policy of the time. It wasn't racism. It was an economic policy of the time. Racism was injected under Woodrow Wilson. I'm not saying that that people didn't think that blacks were less than whites back then.
They did.
They did.
We're not trying to say that didn't exist by any means.
But to try to 100% pervert the way that anybody looked at blacks, that was Woodrow Wilson.
Yep. And Kirk Cameron talked about it in our biblical citizenship class that we took. I went through it 2 times. You went through it 2 times. And it was through Turning Point Faith. And this was probably a year or 2 years ago. 2-3 years ago. I think we took it 2 years in a row. And it's absolutely mind-blowing to understand that our real history has been rewritten. And we all are all lied to since the time that they were rewritten into the 5 volumes, which was what year?
He did that in like 1913. 1914.
So over 100 years of just lies.
John Dewey was a big part of that. We'll get into John Dewey at another time. Anyway, we're going to go pop up now from Woodrow Wilson and his garbage. And of course, senators used to be sent by the states. The state legislators sent their senator to the U.S. Senate. They were not voted on by the people. You probably didn't know that. 17th Amendment says, oh, let the states vote on who they want for the state senator. There's a reason that Woodrow Wilson wanted that done as well. There's a lot of nefarious stuff that was put in place under Woodrow Wilson.
Which is why he's mom's favorite president.
Exactly. So Calvin Coolidge came in through an economic boom that began during Harding's administration. He started it. Calvin, boom, came in there. So the shared Republican economic policies of the era of the 20s, largely guided by Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon, were characterized by a pro-business, laissez-faire approach. They did tax cuts, they reduced government spending, they had high tariffs. Tariffs came back into play again, and minimal regulation. The regulations that Woodrow Wilson put in place, they were stripped away in the 20s, only to be put back times 1,000 with FDR. You can regulate people out of existence, and that's what they do. So this approach was called the Coolidge Prosperity Approach. And it was an era of industrial growth, low unemployment, widespread consumer spending on new technologies like automobiles and electric appliances. So this happened under Republican Calvin Coolidge. And remember that gold standard started to be put in place in the 1890s, but the world currency at the time was the British pound. Remember that, the British sterling. But McKinley thought, you know what? If we had a strong gold-backed currency, we could compete on the world market. And in the 1920s, we got so strong that the British sterling was losing its position as the world currency. And with the high tariffs that was put in place and Calvin Coolidge strengthening everything, in 1944, we took over as the world currency, and we've been there ever since with the gold standard. Even though we went on to fiat currency in 1971, the only reason that works is because the petrodollar and the Saudis. If the Saudis did not have our back with our fiat currency, we'd be up a creek without a paddle. But that's a whole other issue. This is what you need to know, that the policies of McKinley that were strengthened under Coolidge gave us the world currency in 1944, and Trump is doing the same things as these men. There's your history lesson.
Now, for people out there who might want to search the same thing that you did to read through that history that you just had up on your phone, what do they put in to search and how?
Oh boy. So go into the AI mode in Google. The first thing that you can put in is economic policy of Hamilton, Lincoln, McKinley. AI mode. That's going to help you to read a lot of stuff. Then it says ask anything underneath. You can type in Coolidge Prosperity 1920s. You're going to hear more about that. British sterling loses, gold standard America. You can read about that as well.
Okay.
So that'll give you some good keywords to put in there.
That way, if you're interested in doing more research or reading on your own of exactly what we were just reading from, you can by all means pop in on your own time and get more context and read more stuff. All right, we're going to pop back into her and see what she's got to say.
Don't put Trump's economic policies at the top of the ticket, you lose. Number two, what Trump's actual revolution looks like, that it's a war for economic independence that Republicans fail to campaign on. And 3, how the modern-day British Empire is trying to stop the reemergence of Trump's American system. Trump won in 2024 because he swung over blue-collar workers and young people of all races to his commitment to make the United States a manufacturing superpower, to recreate the working and middle class, where one income could raise a family. And he's doing it. But are Republican candidates talking about it? No. But that's what voters wanted, as many, many headlines said. Exit polls yesterday in New Jersey and New York showed 60% of voters think the economy's in bad shape. And there's no doubt that families are still hurting over the legacy of 40-plus years of globalization, free trade, and other imperial policies. But those are the policies that Trump is reversing. But not enough Americans understand that because not enough Republicans are talking about it. Here's what they should be talking about. Look at Trump's just concluded Asian deals on shipbuilding, defense, and energy. There will be tremendous impacts on manufacturing and commerce for states like, for example, New Jersey and Virginia, which have major port cities. Virginia and New Jersey Republicans didn't campaign on the $5 billion Hyundai shipbuilding investment in American ports that will create good-paying union jobs. Or take this example from a recent White House fact sheet that says that the LS Group pledged to invest $3 billion by 2030 in U.S. power grid infrastructure, undersea cables, power equipment, winding wires, and that their U.S. subsidiary is building a $681 million manufacturing facility in Virginia.
Wow.
Did Republicans campaign on those things? No. Republicans campaigned on immigration and crime and wokeness. Important issues? Sure. But when voters' number one concern is putting food on the table and paying rent, you better have an economic message. Democrats did. They messaged relentlessly on economic hardship, and they blamed the Republicans. Now, here's what people should have been paying attention to. What Donald Trump said during his extended CBS interview on Sunday night, 2 days before this electoral disaster.
If I didn't have the power of tariff, we would be like a subject nation. We'd be subject to everyone else. Everybody uses tariffs on us. If I wasn't allowed to use tariffs on them, we'd be a third world nation.
Pay very close to Trump's words. We
would be a subject nation, which is what we are right now. And if he didn't have the power of tariffs, we would continue to be a subject nation. Did you see the consternation on his face?
I did.
He's fighting to get us back to those McKinley prosperity, Lincoln prosperity, Coolidge prosperity. We haven't had that prosperity since the 20s, 100 years ago. He's fighting through 100 years of crap. And the look on his face showed you exactly what he's doing.
That's easily 3 generations.
$681 million manufacturing company in Virginia. Yet Virginia went full-on socialist and Democrat. And that AG that wanted to shoot people and have the babies die in the mama's arms, Virginia. But yet they're getting that $681 million. But no Republican talked about that.
It makes you wonder why.
It does it?
Why are they not talking about it?
See, that's why I'm in a different place than you, because that's real sus to me, in my opinion.
Why would you not talk about what's going to make you win?
Charlie Kirk would have talked about this. He would have gotten it out into the ethos. He would have gotten it out for your ears. Since Murr says we have to fill in the blanks for Charlie Kirk, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
So,
and that's why I struggle so much, because of how much Charlie did do, and that's why I think I felt so demoralized when we were talking. It literally dawned on me during that conversation how much of deep shit we're in with no Charlie.
But you forgot you got kind of a Charlie mom.
I do, but we're not the size of Charlie. Nope. We're not anything like him. You know what I mean? Like, no. I don't think that will ever be, we're here to try and do our part. We're not anything like what he was doing, and I don't think anyone is there. And that's where
No.
I'm concerned.
Nope, nobody is there. But imagine if there are 100,000 of us out there doing our little bit. Yesterday, our video,
2.3
thousand, 2,300 views. Imagine if there are 100,000 people that get 2,000 views on something. We spread the word in a different way.
And that's why after he died, I said it was important for us to just put videos out. If no one watches him, fine. No one watches him. Then we just talk into the universe of nothing. Like, whatever. That's not the point. The point is to do our part. Make
And
sure we have God as part of it.
I was just going to say,
and then just
with
let
God,
it be.
all things are possible.
Absolutely.
So like, share, subscribe, do your part as we put this out. Send it to people so that they can learn as well. Say, hey, listen to these two crazy women. They know a couple things. It might get long-winded. They might have a whole bunch of wall behind them, but their content is A1, spot on. You need to learn this stuff. We didn't learn this in school. So it's history lesson time.
Oh,